I'm excited to give this message today. It's actually going to be a little bit shorter than normal. It went shorter in the last service, and it probably will again. But it's on purpose because I want us to have more time for coffee hour, and I know it's also a Packer Sunday. But I'm very excited about it because I'm going to focus more like this is a letter of encouragement. Paul, the Apostle Paul in 2 Thessalonians, addresses the people of Thessalonica that way, like as a letter of encouragement. And this felt like this was the right time to do this because this is the last Sunday of our fall series, What If? And I'd really like to recap, in a sense, really the last year, because the last year really has been about this question. What could be? We've been asking that question for a while. But I want to start with this. 12 years ago, Arunima Singh was riding on a train. Robbers attempted to steal her belongings. She fought them, but the robbers eventually pushed her out onto the train tracks. She could remember seeing a train moving toward her, but she couldn't get up in time. Arunima had achieved success in being a volleyball and soccer star in India. Her leg had been run over, crushed below the knee. And after being quickly taken to the hospital, the doctors tried to save her leg, but it had to be amputated. She suffered multiple fractures of the spinal cord. So as she struggled in recovery, she was inspired by an Indian cricket player, Yuvraj Singh, who had a successful battle with cancer. So Rumina decided she was going to do something with her life anyway. Rather than simply trying to survive this great tragedy, she started asking herself the question, what if? What could be? And the possibilities began to open up around her. So Arunima took up mountaineering classes, and she did very well in them. Upon her brother's encouragement, she decided to climb Mount Everest. Just 2 years after losing her leg, Arunima Singh became the first female amputee to climb the top of Mount Everest. She was honored with awards, financial rewards that she ended up using for social welfare causes. Singh started a free sports academy for differently abled people in her poor community. In 2015, she was bestowed with India's fourth highest civilian award, Arunima Singh. When we hear comeback stories like hers, it gives me hope that I can overcome my struggles. If she can overcome and climb the top of Mount Everest, I think I can make it. And this gives you hope. It gives us all hope. And there is something I really love about humanity. And that's that we all, or at least most of us, love to see people redeem themselves. Love to see people get second chances. Love to see people reinvent themselves after tragedy. Today we're closing this chapter on a series called What If? And just like our spring series during Lent, this is not the end of a chapter, or this is not the end, really. It's the beginning of something new. And so I've been reflecting on this past year at PCC, and it seems I have a lot to be thankful for. And that's what I realized as I was reflecting. So in a sense, this, like I said, is my thank you letter to the church and to all those who have participated, continue to participate, and those who wish they could participate. To all those people, to all of you in this faith community. It will be concise and short message. So last year we really started purposefully asking the question, what could really be here? What could be if we step out a little bit of our comfort zones? Up until that point, I think it's pretty clear, and we could all agree that this church had been reeling from circumstances, a multitude of them, not the least of which being a global pandemic. Since then, I feel like, and I've been hearing from other people, it's like this church's heart has been revived. Something special is happening, and it's beyond us. It's beyond us, so we can't take credit for anything. This doesn't mean things are perfect, of course. That's part of why we are here as a church, because we still have good work to do. But it does mean that a world of possibilities have opened up here, almost suddenly. So we started asking the question, what if? So I put together some visuals to help us remember where we've been. What if we listened to our community? So last spring, in this past 6 weeks, we listened to senior care professionals and seniors. This was Denise from Homestead. We listened to teachers and students. This is Kids Church on the bottom right. The top right are our students that we interviewed a couple weeks ago. And on the left side is some of the youth group outside doing a meditative practice in the woods, actually, and just seeing what they're hearing and smelling and what they love about the woods. And that was a week where they were learning about Celtic Christianity. We listened to mental health and social work professionals. Here are 3 of them. That's Kurt Cananan, Sarah O'Connor, and Susie Brecky. Susie Brecky being a global humanitarian professional with World Relief. And we listened to people from our Slavic community, which I realized they didn't have any pictures of, which tells me I have homework to do. I can't speak for anyone else, though I've heard feedback. I've learned a lot during this last year, and I've grown. My mind's been opened up to a lot of different things through these presentations and some of the interviews. And I've also, I think a really healthy aspect of what I've learned is to appreciate and admire our generations that make up this faith community. You know, senior generation all the way to the next generation of young people. I've learned, because we've taken time with our seniors and with our students to just listen and to be present and to get curious and to ask more questions than provide answers. The students recently listened to and learned about the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which inspired me to share about it in my message. Chrissy, our youth and children's minister, presented to them, also my wife, by the way, if you didn't know that, a compilation of hymns over 4 weeks. And one of those hymns was Battle Hymn of the Republic. And she, through some of the studies that she had researched, shared with them the story of the Battle Hymn of the Republic from the 19th century, when a woman took a known melody and it turned it into this incredible song, almost menacing, marching song that actually had to do with God's heart for the people who were enslaved in this country. Pretty powerful thing to learn, things I didn't realize until recently. And how that song gave us new versions, most recently in 2019, with a few new verses from Audrey Assad, a contemporary Christian artist, who spoke words that kind of matched up with the reality of today's modern struggles, the things we struggle with today. That's what the students learned about. It inspired me. One other thing they did together is they created an encouragement board as you walk out of Friendship Hall or walk into Friendship Hall. If you go down there for coffee and donuts in a little bit, you'll just look on the left before you open those double doors or go through there. There's an encouragement board with it's almost like how you would rent out an apartment and you have the little tickets you pull off with a phone number. They've put little encouragements that people can take home, anybody, all of us. Just to help us through the week. Just little things that the students are doing together And the Celtic Christianity, like I spoke about before, they had a whole session during youth group on Celtic Christianity. So we're all listening and learning new things, right? So that was like the first two steps, and that was what Lent was all about. The next step was partnering. So we listened, we learned, and we asked, what if we partnered with people in our community, with organizations, and with people inside this building? So we asked, what if we partnered with our community? So for the past 2 seasons, we joined St. Joe's Catholic School for their annual trunk or treat, which I wish I had a picture of, but I didn't find any from this year yet. I know Jerry Whaley has all of them, so I'll get them from her next after service. And then this fall, our longtime women's group, the Priscillas, provided a luncheon for the incoming, it's hard to see from this far away, but this was a luncheon for the incoming teachers of St. Joe's Catholic School. It says, welcome back, teachers, in the middle. You have the Priscillas that made the luncheon, prepared it and served it, and then all the teachers that were all together. And even that same day, we had a CPR training where several of us from Pilgrim partnered with the St. Joe's teachers and took CPR together, which was actually quite a bonding experience if you've ever taken CPR before. There's a lot of participation. So we are continuing to work with St. Joe's men's and women's homeless shelters, which you can see in the bottom right corner. Again, a small picture. If you want to see any of these pictures, they all come from the Facebook page. So if you go to Pilgrim's little advertisement. So down there you can see very dimly that we were at St. Joe's Women's Shelter providing meals. We did some things where we partnered with ecumenical gatherings where different churches and faith organizations were involved. One of them being Be the Light Walk, most recently, where there were 1,500 people involved. That top right corner says Imago Dei, where 4 churches and 4 other faith organizations were involved. Both of these, Be the Light Walk and Imago Dei, being focused on people who have been marginalized, historically speaking. And so we partnered in that way, and it was incredible. PCC also partnered with our National Association of Congregational Churches. On the left-hand side, I want to explain that picture because it's from yesterday. This picture on the left is Julie Sheridan Smith, who's a longtime Congregationalist and is now the senior minister at First Congregational Church in Wauwatosa. Within the last year I think is when this happened. Very exciting. In the middle is Tisha Urban. She's now the new associate minister at the same church. And then on the right is Cindy Bacon-Hammer. If you were to pull out a hymnal, not the ones that are in your pews, but we have some red hymnals as well. There's some in the library in Friendship Hall, and I have one in my office. Her name's in it because she was part of the committee that revised the hymnal for the modern day, essentially is what. And for the Congregational Way, actually. And I have a very close connection with Cindy Bacon-Hammer because she led the racial justice task team, which I was a part of from 2020 through 2021. And she retired from Heritage Congregational Church in Madison this past about 2 years ago. And she's super involved in at a national level and at a state level. And then on the right side there is the National Conference in Milwaukee, which Pilgrim was highly involved in. That group right there, you could pick that up and put it over in Friendship Hall because it's the exact same group that led music this morning. So the Tomashik family plus me led worship for a 4-day conference of annual national conference for the NA, the National Association of Congregational Christian Churches. So that's several ways that we have been partnering because we asked what could be, and we did it. So PCC also has a women's group called the Priscillas, a longtime group, and a men's group. The men's group had an annual golf outing. The women's group had their rummage sale that Luann just talked about, amongst other things. And all of these things to raise money for future ministry causes, right? And that's exactly, that's the engine, I think, that drives our ability to do ministry. And not only that, Dick Kayer had a concert very recently to raise money for ministry causes too. These are all the examples, not an exhaustive list, but many of the examples I could think of. And maybe you're thinking of more and more, and I hope you are. But these are the examples of listening and learning and partnering. And it made me realize this all comes down to one great congregational value. To me, what could be one of the greatest, and that's we walk together. So everything we're seeing in these slides is a common theme. It's together. You never see one person by themselves. So we've took time to reflect and reminisce, and I've come to realize that I've learned a lot from experts in their fields, but I've also learned a lot from each one of you. I've learned, and I've begun to admire even more your willingness to take what I would call faith-filled steps into the unknown, which made me think of this, which hard to see, but that bottom is a picture I took of the whole congregation the Sunday that Molly was ordained, which was just 6 weeks ago? 5? I don't remember. But they're down there, and that picture is also on Facebook if you want to look at it, and they're all cheering, and there are people with their arms up, and it's just a great picture. If you were here, you know. And that picture up top is laying on of hands. It's just a really powerful Sunday. And I think in a way, this idea of taking steps into the unknown, that's part of it. And it's bringing on Chrissy and Molly as ministers at this church. We don't know what's to be. We just have faith that there's something better around the corner. And it's hopeful. And I don't know about you all, but I needed some hope after the last 4 or 5 years. There's been a lot going on. And I want to be in a place where we really do feel like we're walking together. And no one's running ahead so that people get left behind. That we see when people are feeling left behind and we come get them and we say, let's do this together. And it doesn't mean we drag people along, but it means we're with people right where they are. I'm encouraged by your grace and your curiosity because we've had hard conversations. Some of our presentations have been new information for me, and it's blown my mind. Your receptivity to new ways of thinking about faith and community, I'm so thankful for that. I'm humbled and overwhelmed with gratitude as we move into November. And I'm excited for what this holiday season will bring with Thanksgiving and Christmas, our Advent season, which is just a beautiful time of reflection and family. And this church, this faith community is family. And I keep hearing that more and more. And that's what it's meant to be. So I want to finish with this. So for all of these things, I am overwhelmed with gratitude, and it made me think about 2 Thessalonians 1:3. And I want to thank Sue for enlarging the font. I sent her a font that was much too small because we have less distance from the screen in the other service than we do in this one. So thank you for reminding me that. 2 Thessalonians 1:3, the apostle wrote to a new church in Thessalonica, which is, and I looked this up to pronounce it right, Thessaloniki, Greece. Modern-day Thessaloniki, Greece is a real place. Don't know if you've heard of it. I hadn't heard of that pronunciation, but that's who Paul's writing to, this new church. And he's encouraging them, and I want to read this to finish. We must always give thanks to God for you, brothers and sisters, as is right, because your faith is growing abundantly and the love of every one of you for one another is increasing. And as I read that, and when I read it in there, I just thought, can that just be our goal? Can that be our goal for the next year, that our faith grows abundantly and the love of everyone, the love of another is increasing? I'm going to say that again. A growing faith and an increasing love for one another. Boy, if we can look back a year from now and that's happening, I don't know that anything else matters. So may it be so. And as we go out, I wanted to invite you for next week. We want to create a video that we can share on during Thanksgiving week of just those who'd like to share something they're thankful for. It doesn't have to be related to church. It could be about family or friends or anything. It could be a 10-second thing, but we're going to invite folks who would like to do that, which we've done that once before, and we had a great reception. We had 6 or 7 people who shared. It'll be in the garden room. We'll just set up a little camera, and one of us will film that, and we're going to put it together the week of Thanksgiving. Probably like a 30-second, maybe 2 to 2-minute video. And I just think it's a great way to segue into the Thanksgiving season. So let's pray. Dear God, I am thankful that you have given us a space where we can have hard conversations, where we can listen and learn from each other, and ultimately where we can walk together, because we don't get to control our circumstances oftentimes. We don't get to control the things that happen around us oftentimes, but we can choose to walk together no matter what. That is within our control. For everything else, God, your grace and mercy be upon all of us, this community, and for the life of the world. In your heavenly name, amen.